Hey y'all, we are just getting this party started. So I have some storms rolling in. My internet's not it's not cooperating very well, so I might get kicked off, but I'll be back on again. You know how that goes. Anyways, though, I got my girls coming up here. I am going to throw the music on real fast. And then we'll do the intro while I wait for everybody to get up here. And your camera's on behind the screen. I got the screen up. I don't know if you want me to say your name or not, but your camera's on, baby. So you might want to, if you want to leave it on, you can leave it on. If you want to leave it off, you can leave it off. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. Oh, you're muted. Hold on, you're muted. I can see you're talking, but I can't hear you. Let me unmute you. All right, you there?
I'm here.
Okay. It's got your camera on there, so I didn't know if you wanted to be on camera or if you wanted to turn it off. I wasn't sure.
I think I'm leaving it on.
Okay. All right. I got the screen up now. And I also have a text message too that I was going to put up as well. Did you want to come up too, Candy, or are you going to stay down there? All right. We'll put the intro on and we'll get this party started, baby. Give me just a minute. I'm sorry. I had to start a little bit late because my internet was acting up.
No worries.
Here goes the intro.
I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
So, welcome everybody. I hope you guys are all having a good afternoon, evening.
You too.
Let's see here. I'm gonna pull this screen down here. I just got this. I just put this up just in case, you know, if, like for when we have people come up. So I'm gonna pull it down. Hello.
Hello.
Just wanted to make sure. Okay. I was gonna say I got all three of you girls up here. Okay. All right. Do you guys you want to kind of give a backstory, Good Egg, and then I'll or do you want me to start?
I mean, I can give a little backstory. So
Okay.
I met Heather officially yesterday. We talked for the first time on the phone. And for everybody who watched our last interview with Candy Howard, Candy and her husband Dave are the ones who have been reached out to by Jim to find their adult son who had gone missing in California. And they tried to raise money really quickly in order to pay him his full fee. And they actually had one donor who gave enough money to completely cover it. And they were able to do that right away. It was kind of like this guardian angel type person who did that for them. And we know that we heard them talk about that in the phone call where Jim was, accusing Dave of all sorts of ridiculous things. When Dave mentioned, do you think that you earned that money. And he asked Dave, how much did you pay me? And they said, we paid you $2,700. He said, you didn't pay me anything. You know, somebody had to pay for you. Well, that person, that generous person who actually had donated actually was Heather. And as we all know, the way Candy was relaying the story to us was that she was very upset with Jim and thought that he should give that money back to the donor. And Jim said Jim told her, and then he repeated later on another channel that the donor had called him and said, you know, you did such a great job. You found him. Like, there are these terrible people and you shouldn't have to give back the money at all. But Candy said, you know, eventually he did give the money back to the donor, which made Candy feel a little bit better, because I'm sure she felt, you know, so overwhelmed and taken advantage of. She probably felt guilty that Heather had given that money. And so we stated multiple times in that live that Candy's money had been refunded multiple times. Well, we found out yesterday that that is not true. He did not give the money back to Heather. His conversation with Heather was not about how he did a great job. In fact, Heather was such a nice person. When she talked to him, it was clear he wasn't giving back the money. He repeated those kind of lies where he's just trashing Candy and Dave. And because Heather is such a nice person, she just let Candy believe that the money had been refunded. She didn't want Candy to carry that guilt around. And then Candy told us, you know, she gave Jim the credit, saying he gave back the money and everything, and he took that credit. But that is actually not true. And when Heather heard that, she felt guilty. She's like, oh my goodness, you know, like, Candy really thinks this, and now Jim is getting credit. And it was aggravating for me, I thought, Queen, because it was an example of these two women who did not know each other personally before this, who were just trying to show kindness to other people. And because they were being so kind and trying to help each other so much, that he was able to take advantage a second time and get this credit that he had given this money back when he didn't. So that is the backstory. And I'm sure, Queen, you were as when you heard that, you were like, we were all in the same group chat. And
I was like, wait, what? Wait, what?
Candy didn't even know. Candy had to find out kind of all at the same time. Yeah.
Kind of funny. I was carrying around my own guilt about that. So I really appreciate the opportunity to set the record straight.
Yeah, no problem. This is a message here where Candy actually had sent a message to Jim herself and said, just got off the phone with her. Everything is finished. She should be contacting your daughter who texted. So Jim says, just got off the phone with her. Everything is finished. She should be contacting your daughter who texted her earlier today at this very moment. You have been reimbursed and she is being taken care of. So there is no problem. And the message said, thank you for doing the right thing. Candy said, thank you for doing the right thing. So, yeah, he never paid the money back. He never gave the money back. He never reimbursed for this. He never found her son. He basically just took the money and ran. So, yeah.
And you see that? Do you see that? You have been reimbursed and she is being taken care of. Now that we know the truth, you could see that he is twisting it there. Like, he's basically saying, you're reimbursed by your kid being found. And I talked to Heather and she's taken care of somehow because guess what? Heather did not demand money back from this man who wasn't going to give it to her, right? Because she's not that, eventually it wasn't worth fighting with him. So he basically tells Candy, and then Candy is obviously she got this, so Candy believes she got the money back, right? And so she says that's what she's kind of repeating her story to Heather. And yeah. That's crazy. So he took this money, by the way, and he allowed everybody to think that he had given a refund. And Heather, do you want to talk a little bit about the phone call you had with him?
Sure. So I had received a couple of messages via Facebook that I hadn't noticed, and Candy reached out separately and was telling me that they'd been working really, really hard to convince Jim to give the money back, and that he was refusing to give them the money back because they had told him that the money came from a donor or a sponsor, I think is the word that he used. And so I contacted Jim right away. And one of the first things he wanted to explain was much of what I already knew, that he had been in contact with his family. He was looking for their son. And I said, yes, I know. And he said, so you know this family personally? And I said, no, I actually don't. I've just been following this story, and my heart really goes out to her. And I just wanted to help in whatever way I could. So I gave them the money to hire a private eye. Back then I thought maybe that was the best chance they had of locating him. And he said, wow. And then his entire demeanor changed. He started telling me that he had found their son, that he was gay, that he hated his family, he never wanted to go back home. And now that the family knows this, they want the money back.
So he didn't change his tune until he realized you were a stranger, right?
Correct.
Right, because basically you did not send him the money. A family member wired him the money, right? So he probably thought
it didn't matter. I mean,
right.
At the time, I was just thinking, why would it matter where the money from? They're paid you.
Exactly. So basically, that moment he realizes, oh, this isn't like an aunt or a neighbor. I can just say whatever I want right now and get out of this. And so he thought he could.
And you know, I'm sort of a skeptical person by nature. Even I just thought the whole supposition that he would give the money back if he spoke to the person who donated it, I just didn't think that was very likely. And of course, he starts immediately defending his right to keep the money. And I said, you know, I don't really want to argue with you about a refund. I gave the money not expecting to get the money back, and that's fine with me. I'm just happy that they've located their son, and I hope he makes it home safely. And I really, really don't want Candy to worry about the need to pay me back.
Right, because Candy had been so worried about her son. And at this point, her son is back, but he's located. But I think I understand this too. She probably felt guilty, like if somebody had to give me money for something, right? And so she's going out of her way to get the money back. No one actually wanted the money back.
Further confirmed for me that Candy was a genuinely good person, and that I had reached out to help someone who needed it, and also was going above and beyond in this circumstance to try and get any of it back. Because what Jim said was just so completely unprofessional. When he asked what it was that I did for a living, I told him that I was a bit of an investigator myself. I'm not a private investigator. I work in the private sector doing different kinds of investigations. And he suggested that perhaps we could work something out where he could provide information that I needed that maybe I couldn't access.
Oh my gosh.
I explained to him that you know, to gain access to any of these more sophisticated applications, it's a lengthy process, and your background is run. You make all kinds of attestations about how you will and won't use the data. And I told him that the difference between what law enforcement typically has access to in this particular program that I utilize, I did not have access to motor vehicle information. And part of me suspected that if I said that, he would either acknowledge that, yes, he knew that, or that he could get it. So he says that he's completely willing to help me, just give him the information that I'm looking for, and he will contact me right away with the answers that I need.
And you knew that, you knew, and even I knew, as just like a civilian person, that him as a private investigator would not have access to be able to run plates.
No, private investigators have more access than someone like me does, but I have been working in the fraud industry for 17 years. So as soon as he said that he would call me back and get me the information, I knew that I wasn't dealing with someone who necessarily had good ethics.
Right, or who deals in the truth and reality.
Absolutely. So I was really in a hurry to get off the phone with him at that point. And he called back almost immediately after we had finished and wanted to know if I would let Candy know that everything had been worked out. And I said, of course I would. Don't forget, I really, really want to leave this family in peace. They still have yet to get their son home. And so immediately I sent a message to Candy, and I think I provided a copy of that. I don't know if you want to show it, but I specifically said that I reached out to Candy. I let her know we had a brief conversation and that I was satisfied with the outcome. And he reached out to Candy and said, I refunded the money.
Oh, you have been reimbursed.
Yes, you have been reimbursed.
And then when he came on here, after he didn't come on here, but after he heard that he had gotten away with people thinking he gave a refund, and that was now the official story, he decided to say that, I think he's even trying to cover himself with his story now going back, because he said that when I talked to them, they said, you don't need a refund at all, because you did such a great job, you found him. But we've even seen him since then on Facebook.
Yeah.
I gave the sponsor back the money. So he just ran with it.
And not only that, he actually said in a recent interview that I had said that the family were drug addicts and that he shouldn't give the money back because they would blow the money on drugs. I mean, that I found that enormously offensive.
Right, because it's incredibly offensive, but also he had already said that to them even before he said that. He also repeated it, right? So that's his go-to thing. I don't think he has limits, honestly. It seems to me that there really is not much of a boundary or a limit.
He rewrites the past with his own lies, but it certainly seems that way.
And when we first talked to Candy, she was kind of specifically talking about, the person who was able to just kind of donate and give us everything that we needed in one donation. She's a very private person, and like she keeps it private. She really didn't even want to bring you into it, and you weren't in the chat like under your name or anything on that first day. The only reason you're here is because the way you just explained it to me was like you were so infuriated to hear her repeat this story about the refund that you had done to just try to give the family some peace.
Yes. It just seems like, it's just further exploitation of Candy and her family. I was just a stranger to them. We know each other much better now, but I was just a stranger, and I just immediately felt sick to my stomach, like, oh my gosh, I hope she knows that I would never say anything like that about anyone, much less someone that I had so much compassion for.
Well, I appreciate you. I know Candy appreciates you. I think we just appreciate there's people like you in the world, because since we've been covering this, it's a lot of people doing the opposite kind of stuff of that. And it's good to remember that, even though some people are willing to say and do anything, and these kind of lies and behavior can be so destructive and has such a large ripple effect, that these people are outliers. Most people are not Jim Terrys, and most people are not scam artists, and most people do not want to hurt other people.
I had the opportunity to meet Candy's son on his journey home, and I was telling her that as soon as I recognized him, his face lit up and said, "Oh my gosh, do you know my mom?" Because his mom had done all of the work thus far to both locate him and get him home. There was no talk about a private investigator or being found by anyone other than the people that his mom had made direct contact with.
Yeah, I mean, he was in California, right? We know that he didn't do anything to locate him. He will say he located anybody, right? I mean, at this point, you could bring up anything and he will just take credit for it, even if he knows that can be, that story could hold the next day. He doesn't hesitate. And here we have Adventures with Purpose in the comments as well. Are you familiar with them, Heather?
I'm not.
Okay, so they're a YouTube channel, but they do basically diving, like scuba, like search and rescue, and they go around the country and they kind of just help out families who have cold cases. And they recently went to Idaho, I believe, it might be wrong, for a boy named Jed Hall, who's been missing since 2016. He went missing when he was 16 years old, and 2 years into it, when it was a cold case, Jim inserted himself into the case. He went on YouTube and said the most insane, as you can imagine, conspiracy stories about Jed Hall, said he was alive, said really damaging things about the kid personally. I don't know why he did it. And he was telling the family and everybody that Jed was alive and he had traced him to California, and that he was just kind of like this kid who was fooling everybody. Well, Adventures with Purpose, after 4 years, they went out there this spring. This is actually really kind of a sad story, to help the family. And they, within 75 minutes, they pulled his car with his remains from the river near their home where the last ping had been.
Gosh.
Yeah. So obviously it was horrible.
Did you just see this? It says Adventures with a Purpose. Mike King just called out Jim Terry on profiling evil. To honor the reward, we at AWP are due for Jed Hall. We want him to give back the $20,000 to Amy and Alan Hall.
Did he? I wonder how much Amy and Alan. I hope that he's not saying that Amy and Alan Hall paid him that much money, but that was what he had said. Jim put up a reward, which obviously.
Oh my God! I hope not. I hope not. That makes me sick to my stomach. Oh God.
I watched Adventures with a Purpose. They did a YouTube live after it. Obviously, this is two men, and I apologize, I don't know their names. But the one man who was giving the interview on YouTube, he was shaken up because I don't think they expected to find him that quickly, and this had just happened. And to be kind, they had looped Jim in because the family was still kind of like, he's our PI. They had looped him in, and when he got on the phone with him, and when Jim found out that they had found Jed Hall, he lost his mind, was screaming at this guy, said that he was going to like punch him in the face, was saying that he was, when they all go on Dr. Phil about this, and has just attacked them like insane. Said the search and rescue is junk science. These people are all scam artists and criminals. He was so angry. His ego was so hurt because he had been wrong about Jed Hall. it was.
Yeah, that's why I had said Adventures with a Purpose. If you get a chance, pop up on panel. I know that they're probably busy, or they may not be able to, but I just wanted to get confirmation for anyone else that comes back to watch this live that Jim Terry did not find him. I know he uses that as one of his success cases, like that's one of his success stories or whatever. So I just wanted, you know what I mean, if there was any way, but I know they're kind of busy. So, and I wanted to finish with Heather. I didn't want to be rude either. So
No, but I think the reason they commented here was because this is another example of him, another example of his lies, right? He did not have he did not have a reward for them, and now they're they're calling him out to say, hey, no, we want that reward, because if there's a reward that Jim offered, they want to take it and they want to give it back to the family. They know that he's never gonna. There is no $20,000 reward. They're aware of that. I mean, Heather, I think right after they found Jed Hall's body, and this, I didn't follow all this. This is me going back. He had the audacity when he addressed it after Jed was found, because he was the private investigator, to try to say that it was staged. Like maybe he had tried to stage a suicide and then got trapped in the car, and his real thing was like run away, or it hadn't been there for 4 years. Like it's just, there is no limit and there is no low. No, Melissa, it's not that Jim got $20,000 reward. He put up a $20,000 reward because he tells families, right? It's a good deal, right? My company puts up a $20,000, $50,000 reward. So it seems worth it to pay him the $2,000, right? So he put up a $20,000 reward for Jed Hall. It was a standing reward. Now that Adventures with a Purpose, when they found him and Jim reacted the way he did and threatened them with physical violence, they said, okay, you know what? There's a reward out. They're the ones who found it. Please give the reward. Because they're calling him out because they know that it was a lie. There was never a reward. They would like to be able to give it to Jed's parents, but that's never going to happen.
That's so disgusting.
This is the kind of person that you unfortunately are dealing with, because you tried to. All you did was as a kind gesture in the world, right? And you got sucked into this.
And I felt really guilty about that, by the way. And I'm sure that's what all families probably go through. Like, oh my goodness, how did I not be certain he's okay? But the situation just isn't such that you are afforded the luxury of telling all of the people. But hopefully all of the talking that's happening now, hopefully that changes things for people who are considering him in the future.
Exactly. Hello. Queen, you don't have everybody's names up. If you want to maybe do the names. Hi, so this is Jared from Adventures with Purpose.
Yes.
Hi,
how are you?
Nice to
Thank you for coming up.
Turn my volume up here. All right.
Yeah, I can hear you good. Can you hear him okay, good egg?
Yes, I think so now.
Hey, anyway, you've been doing a good job putting out, your little live awareness in the world. You watch our stuff, don't like to throw people on the bus. Do it good. But from the get-go, Mike King first ran across, the private investigator. We do our best to work with everybody, family to law enforcement, private investigators, trying to find out as much information as we can, to gather as much information as we can, so that way we can help these families. And we do so, free of charge. We don't charge anything. One of the sad things that we have learned in this industry, and why we made a decision long ago to never charge these families, is because unfortunately there are people out there in the world that will con these families. We have seen it time and time again that families will mortgage their homes. They'll go into great debt. I mean, we're talking some, hundreds of $1,000s, and they'll actually end up losing their homes because they will do anything for that one glimmer of hope. We have seen other things too, such as families that they'll receive their reward flyers or pictures that these con people find online to scam them with like fake duct tape around these Photoshop photos of like, hey, we have your lost loved one. You're going to send us $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, or else we're going to kill them. People are sick out there, just plain and simple. And so anyway, so going back to, that's why we as an organization from the very get-go, we made a call within the group that we are never going to charge these families. We do have a thing that, if a family wants to donate to us, we're never going to say no, because we can take those funds, use those funds, and move forward to help the next family. We use the YouTube and the Facebook platform. We call this a necessary evil, and part of that is if a family wants to participate and be recorded, we are documentary storytellers. So that way the next family can find us in the same way that this family found us. And so we have said, if we had unlimited funding, the unfortunate side of this is we would still have to be on YouTube. We would still have to make these videos so that way the next family can find us. That's kind of the rundown, and that's why we have chosen not to, ever charge these families. Once and only once have we ever received an actual reward that was given to us, and the reason for that one is the family kind of felt as though it was, I won't say blood money, but it was a money that was coming to them from insurance and that had been put together by others within the community, that they didn't feel as though it was right, that it served a purpose for it to be given to us, so that way we can then use it to move forward to help other families. And sure enough, we used it in an appropriate way. And, fast forward, here we are with an incredible track record that we have 23 lost loved ones that we have now brought home because of all of us coming together. That I've always said, all of us are AWP. We're all a part of the movement. We just happen to be the boots on the ground, the boats in the waters that get out there to help these families. And we appreciate each and every one of you for being a part of that with us. Coming back to this, I don't want to speak too much of it. Things were, recorded. Dr. Phil was there, captured Jim Terry and his comments on camera, as well as audio. We had 3 or 4 cameras going. Mike King ended up recording quite a bit of as well. We have text messages galore. I'm just going to say I'm going to say not one of the, but I'm going to say probably the nastiest person I've ever ran across in my entire life, for somebody that is supposed to be there to help a family, to let's look at all angles. Like, that's what we do. We think outside the box and we look at these angles of where could somebody be? This is why we have the what's the genre that we call it? This is the crime genre. This is the missing person genre, that we're all coming together as web sleuths to do
Right.
things, as neighbors, as friends, as an uncle, as a brother, as a dad. And in doing so, we do so free of charge, as we would for our best friend. And we're not going to solve them all. And one of the things that really irked me about the entire thing, as he's on the phone and just being nasty and yelling at me and what's your success rate? Mine's 100%, and mine's 18%. And if you know anything about the 0.5% when it comes to missing persons and for cold cases for detectives, and law enforcement solving them, I'm going to say that 18% is pretty good. He's like, well, that means that you have an 82%. Well, he said 88. His math is off, but anyway, 82% failure rate. We don't fail. We've never failed a family in giving them answers as to where their lost loved ones are or they are not. So 100% of the time, we put our heart into it to help these families 100% of the time. And with that, based upon a 5-mile radius of where were they last seen, where do they work, where do they go to school, or a cell phone ping, 5-mile radius, 18% of the time, we are able to solve these cases. We hope to continue to, do so, move forward, and help even more families into the future. In fact, we've been out working some this weekend, and we're doubling down this fall to where we have 2 teams that are now out there, again, because of this entire community and the support that we have, that, we're reinvesting these funds, and we're doing so appropriately, that we have 2 RVs, 2 trailers. We're leaving our families behind, and we're going to be working on 120 to 130 cases, a total of 200 days this year on the road, 200 episodes that you'll see us out there trying to help more families.
That's amazing. 23 cold cases solved. And I think that's an astronomical number, because even if it's 1 compared to a family with a cold case, right, that's going to be life-changing. And I have heard the 18% derided by Jim in other interviews, which is insane. So that's actually really impressive. It is lower than 100%, but 100%, when 100% is imaginary and 18% is real, you have to take that into consideration. And I'm sorry you went through that, because I know that was probably a rough and emotional day for you guys without having the addition of this person acting that way. And that's how I feel about the families that he is doing this to. Dylan Brown's mother, they're dealing with the worst thing in their entire life. And then they have this level of just hatred and toxicity layered on top of that. The money isn't as important, I think, in the end. It's just what makes us as observers feel so offended by it. But Queen, I really appreciate you letting Jared up here.
For another family, for another human being. At no point in anybody's lives should first of all, belittle and, bully them. Really, so that's what it is, we've seen time and time again trying to bully us, Mike King, every family out there that he's ever ran across, unfortunately, that it's just a nasty thing. But especially, a hurting family, they're dealing with, like you said, they're dealing with so much already that you're adding that toxicity and the negativity. And yeah, these families just don't have time for it. They have other things to be, worried about, such as what happened to their lost loved one.
Exactly. Thank you for restoring some of our faith in mankind.
Absolutely. Thanks for being a part of that and spreading awareness and the message of, who we are, what we're about. And, we would like to continue to call him out. I did let him know, if he needed proper spelling on my name, if he wants to cut me the check first, I'd be happy to then honor that and hand that back to the Hall families, so that way they can recover some of their cost. And, man of his word. I mean, man to his word is that sometimes that's all he has. And so, Jim, 20 grand. And I understand that you may have lowered it to 15 at one point. I may have even seen 10. So, I mean, if you spent some of it, not a problem. 10, let's get that back to the Hall family. And, if you don't mind giving them back all their money as well, I invite you to do that as well. So yeah, that's our request. And we hope that you can be a man of your word and honor that for us, for the family, help them out. And let's all move together and help out, continue to help out other families in the future as well.
Sounds great. So again, Jim, I think Adventurers with Purpose is saying they're willing to accept any cash reward that you are going to be giving out for solving this case. And we appreciate you guys have so much going on. You are very busy and you have your own really large platform. And so I think that we appreciate you popping up here. Right, Queen? I don't know if we lost her.
I got things to do. I'm actually with family right now. I was just checking out the Terry updates.
Yeah.
Or I think more and more families are going to find out they should not be hiring him. And at the end of the day, here's the one thing that, we've dealt, and you may have heard this in some of our other stuff when a family says, what type of a reward should we put out there? 100%, I tell them, don't put any reward out there.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the day, it's not going to bring the right people to the case.
It sounds like an invitation.
And that, there's good people out there doing good things, and they're going to help you the best they can.
I think it's a great message. So thank you, Jared. Thank you so much. I just learned about you through this, and I'm definitely going to keep following what they do. Heather, you just found out about Adventures with Purpose as well, and they're pretty amazing.
Sounds like it.
I don't know if
I'm driving home from tumbling. I think he just either fell off or I lost him or lost connection, but I didn't even have a chance to say goodbye. But I'm so glad he got to come up here and at least chat for a little bit,
Yeah, that was important. And I think that was important, even the idea of rewards in general. And also he obviously has, he's going to have a lot of experience when he talks about these people who kind of prey on families and try to con them or, get money out of them with a hoax. And he's seen it all. And he still said that Jim Terry was the nastiest person he's ever encountered in his life. So I think that you know, that was really important. And I'm really glad he came up here. And also he does really cool stuff. Like I couldn't even go scuba diving for any reason. So I'm just impressed by people who can do stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he didn't have a great connection, but like I think we heard the main thing. I think he really wanted to pop in.
Agreed.
Yeah, we got the gist of it, but you know what? I'm glad that he came in and talked about Jed Hall too, because I know that Jim uses that as one of his quote unquote success stories. So I'm glad that they called him out, and I'm glad that they, you know, came on to tell the truth, so that anybody that, you know, watches this or sees this can now call him out for that too, you know.
Yeah, and the fall. So I kind of Heels in the Air just has this up there. I kind of looked into it because I watched some of Jim's old videos on Jed Hall when he joined as a cold case, and I was horrified, because he literally. I won't go into it, but this had been a missing case. The kid had left a suicide note, but it did seem like the local police, thought that because he had also kind of packed a few things that they thought there was a chance that he was alive. Though normally if someone goes missing in a car and leaves a suicide note and you don't find them for 2 years, unfortunately, you know, you would normally think that they were no longer with us. But when Jim joined the case, he got all sorts of insane stories. He started to paint Jed as being like some sort of militia type school shooter, vigilante kid. It was really bizarre. He called his journals a manifesto, which are really just like the journal. He called his suicide note a bucket list, and just was saying all this crazy stuff. And he said that the license plate got run down in California, and so that's where he was, and that was the last place they found him. And I actually went and found the East Idaho, or Idaho Falls, I think that's where it was, or East Idaho, I don't know. The local police department, when Jim joined this whole thing and got everything going again on YouTube, they had to put out like a long like FAQ responding to everything he had said. And basically his license plate was run by police officers in a few different states all over the West, because they had sent out like that APB or whatever, I don't know, it's called BOLO, throughout the whole Western United States. And it was in a few different places. And the one place that was kind of further away than say like Montana or, you know, bordering states was California. And Jim tried to say that California wasn't given this information, which was not true. And because it's what police do, they went and they double checked every place it had been run. And they found out that it was run in Stockton, California from an officer's desktop inside the building. And they were able to go in and get the information, who exactly ran the plate. And they found the sergeant, the female detective who had run the plate. And I don't think anybody can remember exactly what it was. But what they found out was it was probably just somebody who had either run the plate in error, or somebody who just saw the missing person thing. And it's totally normal for cops to sometimes see that, to just run it at their computer if they're sitting there. And it was done inside the police station. And they searched. Nobody had ever seen the car. It wasn't done out on the street. But Jim kind of said this thing like, no, it was pinged with it was run by an officer who was out on patrol out on the street who saw it somewhere. That was completely not true. The police had looked full into that when it happened. They looked into it again when Jim brought it up 2 years later. But that what became his thing. And he was telling I don't know how much the family believed from him, but I know that from what I watched a little bit of the Adventures with Purpose video, that the mom who's not on the video was really overcome because they said that they didn't feel like she was really fully ready for that day to know for sure that their son definitely wasn't coming back. So it was kind of, you know, Jim really puts out a lot of stuff. We heard another YouTuber that Queen and I have plenty of experience with and history from, even now after the fact, covering this for the first time, saying, well, this Jim Terry guy, I know people don't like him, but he has some interesting stuff. No, he doesn't, people. It is just confabulations that he is pulling out of nowhere and throwing out there, and is becoming part of the online narrative even after people stop listening to him. It's destructive, and people need to stop repeating anything he says. I'm just trying to catch up on the comments, Queen, and see if there's anything else. Yeah, I mean, the whole Jed Hall thing, as I'm seeing, heels in the air. Yeah, they didn't release the school video, but I read there. It was really sad because I read the I don't know what the police there did or didn't do well, but I had to read their explanations for all these things because Jim took it upon himself 2 years after this kid was gone when he got paid by this family. And what did he do? He released the kids' journals to the internet. He released the kids' YouTube searches to the internet, and made really kind of embarrassing and like ridiculous insinuations about him. He released the kids' details about the girl he liked. He tracked down this teenage girl who had, had been his crush. She was 19 years old now, in a different state, married, pregnant, and he stalked her. He stalked her family. And finally, he forced her to talk because he got on the phone with her husband and told her husband, I have this video footage that I got, and I'm going, from the Jed Hall thing, and I'm going to put it on your local news. And I know you have a business. And finally, the husband forced his wife, his 19-year-old wife, to talk to him. And he, of course, he dragged her all over the internet as some terrible person who probably has something to do with it. I can't believe basically everything he's doing in the Dylan Rounds case, he did in this Jed Hall case, except the family didn't ask him for a refund. You know what I mean? And he didn't fall out with the actual family, but he really, it was so unnecessary now that I think about it. Now, like 2 years later, the kids found he didn't do anything. And so even seeing people in the chat saying like, well, and I don't blame people in the chats, right? But 2 years later, you still have him repeating like the ridiculous stuff that he did on that Jed Hall case. And it shows you how much the ripple effect of what he does. He has zero, beyond not having any respect for privacy. He will invade privacy and also just lie about private things that aren't even true, for no reason other than to, I don't know, make himself feel superior to other people because he has low self-esteem at his core. I'm not sure. It's really upsetting. And Delana, yeah, I agree. I don't know why people are platforming him. It's like there's plenty of, obnoxious or like, kind of people that'll bring you views without, putting somebody up there who's, I don't know, in my mind is acting criminally in many ways. Queen, are you back with us yet? I don't know if we lost you.
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Good. I'm like, I need a little Queen to like lighten the mood a little bit because I'm starting to get like depressed.
Yes, I'm sorry about that. Well, listen, see, I had to take my little one tumbling. That's why I missed out on the whole interview with, It's all good, man. It's all good. I just wanted to make sure you guys got up here. Well, we were supposed to be an hour early. My internet was acting up. Couldn't get a hold of you. It was storming. I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do?
I know. It turned out. I know. It turned out it was like supposed to be an hour earlier, and that was my fault. I did this weird thing. Like even as a kid, I hated this. I
told the girl that she never does this. What's wrong? Something must be wrong.
Like, it could be worried. I did that thing where I never do this, but ever like as an adult where you very rarely fall asleep like in the afternoon for like an afternoon nap, and then you wake up around dinner time. I hate it. I feel like I'm waking up in another
like, holy shit, I just missed
so disoriented. I don't feel refreshed. I'm like, this is the worst.
It's a full panic attack.
Yes. And then I knew I was missing this live. I was like, it was like being in a nightmare world. I was so panicked and disoriented for like 5 minutes. And I felt so bad, but I'm so glad it worked out. And then Queen, it
worked out perfect though, didn't it? In Adventures with a Purpose. I'm so glad he came up here, and I'm so glad that he got to put the truth out. And I'm also glad that Mike King called him out. He needed to call Jim Terry out. So at least somebody, because, like Iqmal, there's a lot of big YouTube creators who are really buying his bullshit. They're buying his story, and I don't know how to push out the truth any more than what we've already done.
Right, exactly. And I think that they're buying it, but to another extent, they are not buying it, but they are profiting off of his bullshit. And the only thing that's going to shame them is probably larger creators, like having the reaction that everybody else is having. Like, that is really scummy that you're doing that. I don't even know. I feel bad, but I don't know who Mike King is. Is that like a YouTuber?
Well, Adventures with a Purpose calling him out. I mean, that's, them calling him out is a way that's right there is enough. You know, I mean, like, that's the start of it. Yeah. And I just want to say, Heather, you are an angel. You are an angel.
Oh, thank you.
And I know, you know what, and I know you felt really, really bad. And I just want to say, don't feel bad, because, you know, just like Jared said, you know, families will do anything. They will pretty much, you know, give their last, you know, they'll give their house, their car, anything to get their loved ones, but it doesn't matter, you know? And so they were busy with their thing. And I understand that's why you said, you know what, it's okay. I'm not going to get it back anyways. And you didn't want to bother her. So, like, I really appreciate you doing that too. Like, I know you felt bad for not telling her, but she was already so stressed anyways and dealing with other things. I can see why you didn't want to tell her, you know?
Yeah, I just wanted her to have some peace. That's it.
Okay, so Mike King is profiling evil. I know he's like a true crime guy, like a retired detective type. So yes, I think that's good, because I think that these larger true crime channels or whatever, they might feel a little bit more of they might hesitate before they, you know, platform him. But I hope they also take the time to not repeat theories or things that started with him. I think that's also really, really important. And yeah, I just think that this is, like we said, this is not about stopping him. It's about just raising his digital footprint so people are aware.
Yes, and that's the biggest thing, is to make people aware of what he's doing. Did you see those the messages where he wrote me back? He wrote a comment back to me. I asked Zob Girl. Okay, so Zob Girl put up the interview she had with Jim, the very first interview he did.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, I'd have to go.
Yes, I asked her if I could use some of the clips from it, and under my comment section, under my comment, he said, "Queen Bee, you should be ready, because Tuesday I'm going to dox Sleuth's mom, and I'm going to." And I haven't even had a chance to respond. I don't even know that I'm going to. He's such a loser, such a loser. Complete. Why do I care?
I want to play that clip, but I know it was on what's his face's channel. You're not supposed to use his stuff, but
I don't care, as long as it's fair use. Go ahead and use it.
Remember the one from 2 nights ago where he said that he was going to dox again with the doxing, and he was saying like, I want.
Oh yeah, did anybody see his new skit where he dresses up as a woman?
I mean, he just looks like
how disgusting is that? To make a mockery out of a missing person's case, to dress up as whoever he was last night, and this loose scunt, and this, I mean, he's disgusting.
He is disgusting.
Isn't he, girl? I'm just like, what are you doing? Where, you know what? And I want to know where did you get that wig? Where did you get that wig and that makeup? Yeah. Why are you hiding? Obviously he's got access to it, or he been had it. So what's really going on?
It was really disturbing, because it wasn't a wig. It looked like it was just hair extensions that he like put on him. But he's really, the problem is that even people, so we do have some of those larger creators that he was paneling with who don't really have him on anymore, right? But they're still kind of playing off of the things that he came up with, right? Like, let's find, okay, there's somebody in custody now, a named suspect, and they're still out there trying to figure out, well, who are these other people that we pulled out of nowhere? How could they fit into it? And it's really dangerous. But I saw Candy in the chat said she thought she was the only person who had ever gotten a refund from Jim Terry, because she was the only example we had ever found. And so now we can say that no, as far as we know, he's never refunded anybody.
That good of a person. Definitely not.
So I guess we'll have to see about what Mike King said on his channel. But, you know, he'll probably still focus on Sleuth Mom and other women to threaten instead of the profiling evil guy, I think. But I mean, I just really want to come down to if Candy had, I'm sure Candy gave him at least a Google, I'm thinking. I think she did. And if she Googled him now and she got any of these hits, I feel like I could probably say Candy, she would not have hired him.
Without a doubt.
Right. And thank you, Heather, too, for like coming. I just want to say again, because you were so not about seeking the spotlight at all. I mean, just because a lot of times people give donations and stuff, they like to take credit. But I mean, just the epitome of somebody who is just as a anonymous like donor, doing like a kind thing in the world and not really expecting anything back from it. But you know, Jim, it backfires sometimes, because sometimes you get people who normally would let it go and not say anything and take the higher road. You push it to a point where people are like, no, I'm going to have to, you know, set the record straight here. And I think that's what happened with Heather today.
Well, thank you for having me on.
Yes, absolutely. And now, I don't know if you can complain about you not hiding behind a camera like the rest of us. You showed your face, Heather, so I guess, you know, you can't complain.
Give him an easy way.
Yeah, that's another thing. When we were giving him the what for and he came in the chat, he's like, what? Well, as soon as he said he couldn't answer us, he's like, well, what do you chicks look like? What do you chicks? You know, that's what he has to go to.
What do you broads look like?
Oh, I'm like, stop deflecting. We're talking about you and your scams. Let's go back to that.
Someone said he just doxed Sleuth Mom on another platform a couple minutes ago and suggested that Sleuth Mom has Dylan and someone needs to send the police to check.
Oh, so he's swatting now.
Right.
Interesting.
I mean, I have to go listen to it because we have a problem in this area of YouTube where people do not understand what swatting means. However, no, because I'm saying, however, in this case, if there was a fake call saying that she had a missing person, alive or dead, on her property, that actually would be an example of a SWAT, because those are the type of calls that police respond to with armed force.
We would also have to assume that he was successful in locating,
right,
not just who she is, but where she's at. Right. And I don't know that he's capable.
No, I don't think he's capable either. But there is like that one very famous story of gamers who swatted, gave another gamer a fake address. The other gamer then swatted that address, and an innocent person at that address was killed by police.
That was one of the episodes of the
the new internet, like what's it called? Web of Lies or something? Web of Lies.
Yeah. I had no idea such a thing existed.
Right.
But wow, that's terrifying.
Well, I said to Jim indirectly, you know, a few times now when he was just in chat, saying he runs a lot of low-level scams, and I understand he's been able to eke out an existence like that for, you know, his 46 years. But if you do it like that constantly, eventually, just luck of the draw, every once in a while, you're going to end up in legal hot water. And this thing that he's doing with the giving the her an address out and telling people to report it, or maybe that'll be the one, or maybe it'll be the next, you know, family that sees this and wants to get a refund and reports them for fraud. Who knows? But
here's Ashley Martin in the chat. She said, I only work one case at a time. He says it's his sales pitch, and it is, and it's a total lie. And I'm going to say this right now. I did talk to her. This is Alex Easterling's mom. And I will say this, she did pay him, and not but 3 days later, he accepted the money from Dylan Rounds' mother as well. And then he took on Aiden Clune's case, which Aiden's mother asked for her money back. I don't know that he gave her money back. I'm not sure, but I know that that's 3 cases, boom, 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 within a week of each other. So he's a lie. Well, we know he's a lie anyways, but that his sales pitch is a whole lie, because he took on 3 cases. Again, like I said, back to back to back. He took money from Alex's mother, the third, I believe, May 30th. June 2nd, he took a Venmo from Dylan Rounds' family. And then he took money from Aiden Clunes' mom as well. So he's gotten paid, and he keeps using PayPal. He wants everybody that he goes on their channels, he wants them to post his PayPal.
Yeah, that is a lie that I only work 1 case at a time, and he doesn't even try to cover that up because, again, he has, as somebody says, he had open cases, right? That, I mean, technically the
Jed Hall. She said, tell it he never looked for my son. You're welcome, Ashley. If you want to click that StreamYard link at the top, you're welcome to do that. Just pause your YouTube first, and it'll bring you up here.
And at the very least, we should get Alex's missing poster up on screen. I'll try to grab that in a little bit if you don't have it ready. Available, Queen. But
yeah, because if she comes up here, we can put it up. We can even put it up without her coming up here. But just if she comes up, that way people are familiar with who her son is, and that way, she can kind of give I think we should put a little backstory of that too as well, because I'm so upset for her. I was just sick to my stomach. I cannot believe she paid him and he hasn't done anything for her son at all. And then the Rounds paid him 4 days later, and look what he's done to them.
Yeah. So again, even with the example of the Jed Hall case, he was never off that case, and he's been on that since 2020. So I mean, this whole idea of him doing 1 at a time, he doesn't even try to make that consistent, but it is what he tells people on the phone. I'm going to work for a flat rate. I'm working just for your case. Ashley Martin, Alex Easterling's mom, paid him $3,000, which was just a part of it, on May 31st. That is before he was hired onto the Dylan Rounds case and paid them.
And Dylan Rounds, the family of Dylan Rounds paid him June 2nd via Venmo. So Bedtime Clown says, can I ask a question? And it may be a dumb one about Jim Terry. No question's a dumb question, girl. Go ahead. Or guy, whoever you are. Go ahead. From 1,500 to 4,500 that I'm aware of, Candace says that's what he's charging. So yeah, I seen some comments up here, but they're going kind of fast. But I did see Ashley Martin. She said, yeah, he never once looked for her son. So he basically took that money from her and didn't do anything. She said she's trying to jump on now. Yes, if it's hard for you, pause the YouTube and then go up to the 3 dots in the corner, and it'll open it. It'll tell you to open in Chrome. Yeah, Candace Howard said, yes, he stalks us. Also phone harassing even months later. Yeah, he does do that. And I'm sorry that he does that to you guys. I know that, that's to harass, and even your husband. I mean, we played the call between you and your husband. And I know Ashley has a bunch of calls as well. She's always recorded his calls because he will tell you to record the call. Hey, we got you up here.
Hey, ladies. Yeah, can y'all hear me?
How are you?
Hey, I'm doing okay, and I appreciate the time that y'all are taking just to kind of let me talk a little bit about my boy and
yes,
and everything that's going on.
Ashley, it is so nice to meet you. I think I can imagine what you're going through. Thank you for being up here, and please, I'm trying to get up his missing poster right now so we can all see it. And anything you want to share, but please also don't feel obligated in any way, because we know you're going through a lot right now.
Yeah, well, and there's good days and bad days, but any parent or family member that's ever been through this, they're the only ones that can truly understand it. You can be fine for a day or two, and then just out of nowhere, a smell or a song or just the sun shining on you, it'll bring it all crashing down. But at the end of the day, you have to hang on to hope with everything that you have until something different. And then in our case especially, even if he's no longer here in his earthly body, I still know he's all right because I know where he is.
Yeah, I'm so sorry you're going through this right now. It's one of the toughest things. You are so incredibly strong. And Candace Howard said, Ashley is so strong. She's a fighter, and I'm so proud of her.
And it's, I know we've emailed back and forth quite a bit, and it has taken me. My husband, he's sitting here with me now. I said earlier today, I said, I think I may get on and talk a little bit about this. I said, and it's not so much just the bashing of Jim, because I think he's aiding and taking care of all of that himself. It's just the fact that why us? Go do it to somebody else. Why us? It's shameful. And then to know that, I was so excited and to hand over, because between myself and my sister and my dad and my husband, I'm, and doing foot searches and research and Google and looking at data, we've all put in all this hard work. And when he came in and cold called me sitting on my couch I think it was a Sunday night, it was May the 30th, it was 9:30. And I mean, the sales pitch. And of course, my husband and I, the first 30 seconds of it, we both looked at each other and just rolled our eyes like, who is this goofball? Because he truly sounds like a used car salesman. But then he just, he starts putting things together and it just all sounds so wonderful. And I bought it hook, line, and sinker. And the one thing that I'll give to him is the first few days, he impressed me. He sold it. I was in, we were making phone calls. He was tracking things down, and then radio silence. It all just went away. And, and I still owed him $1,500. It was $4,500. I was supposed to still be paying him $1,500 more. And, my husband and I, after like 5 or 6 days of nothing from Jim, I think we went like 10 days. And then he calls me out of the blue and does his spiel. And he's like, oh, and by the way, do you think you can go ahead and send that $1,500, and blah, blah, blah. And then he's actually the one who told off on himself. And was like, oh, and I've been on these shows and Dylan Rounds and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wait, did he just tell me that he was working on another case? And all I had to do was get on YouTube and look up Dylan Rounds, and I knew why it had radio silence.
Yep.
And it was soul crushing. That's the only description I can give of it, honestly.
Yeah, I knew when you said that you had paid him already, I said, oh boy. And then when you sent me that screenshot, I said, oh geez, he had taken on your son's case, and then not but 3 or 4 days later took on the Rounds. So
right. And then Aiden's mom, and I apologize that I can't remember the other family's name, but I think her son's been missing for years, and Candace may know this because I think she shared it with me too, that just a few days before mine, he took on another case and is giving this mom hope who hasn't laid her eyes on her son in years. Just stop and let us find people who can truly help.
Exactly. He's, scamming. I mean, it breaks my heart because you guys are going through one of the worst things of your life, one of the worst possible things. And he comes in and it's like a wolf in shepherd's clothing. It's like he tells you all the things you want to hear. And as a mama, you're going to fight. You're going to do anything you could do. You would sell your soul to the damn devil to get your baby back.
Everything I had, signed it over.
Exactly. So I don't blame you guys when you guys hire him. I just don't. I don't blame you guys for doing everything you could possibly do. I blame him.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and one of the other hallmark things that I've noticed in listening to some of the other things, because the way he trolls is, hey, I heard, a couple of media sources reached out. Well, same sales pitch, the whole thing. But one of the other hallmarks that I've noticed is he doesn't like competition. And we had worked really, really hard on getting media coverage. And being in, we're in the Jackson, Mississippi metro area, I guess is the best way to describe it, the capital of Mississippi, but it's still Mississippi. We still have a very small population and things. So being able to have an actual, 3 of the major news networks covering my son's story, seeing his face on the news, seeing him, and just having that. When I tell you he ruined that relationship that we had built in 2 phone calls. And that is something that I don't mind sharing, at a later time, on what he did and how he belittled both of those women who had done, had gone over and above, jumping through hoops to help me get the recognition and to get the, just to get his face out there, just to let people know, hey, be on the lookout. If you know anything, if you've got any information, just share it. Ruined it to the point that neither of them will even answer my phone calls anymore. And that's not fair.
No, it's not. That's horrifying, Ashley. And you're not the first person who's told us that. That's happened in Candy's case as well. And I actually even had a hard time believing, as in just couldn't even imagine what it would take, how offensive somebody would need to be for a news reporter or journalist to then stop taking the family's phone calls. So it has to be so bad. And I really hope, I think you're right. I think like local news media coverage is really important. I feel like he actually tried to sabotage your case. He also asked you to do nothing.
Oh yeah. And that part, and I remember, I was sitting in my kitchen and we were all on a conference call, myself, my sister, and my dad, who is also a private investigator for the state of Mississippi, but that's a whole side story. But sitting there and he's like, well, this is what I'm going to need you guys to do. I need you to give me 2 weeks and y'all just let me do what I do. Y'all have done a great job so far. Y'all have gotten it. What was his verbiage? Football and out. Y'all have gotten it to the 50-yard line. Now let me take it the rest of the way. Y'all just relax and just know this is in good hands. That was one of, and I've made some decisions in my life that were hard. That was the hardest decision I've ever made. And it was useless. It was useless. Yeah.
And I didn't even realize about what you were saying, that you couldn't even get in contact with him. Like he basically fell off the face of the earth. And he came back. I think you figured out that the timeline was he hit you back up for the extra money, was probably right around.
It was the same day. It was the same day that all that did, because he's the one who let me know. He's the one who said that I didn't even know this world and YouTube existed. And I'm so thankful that I do now.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful because there are so many of y'all that are out there and doing so much good to spread the word and help bring closure to situations and to help, in the wonderful cases of reuniting families together. I didn't even know it was there, and of course I'm hooked on it now and just watching and trying to keep up with, any new technologies I'm finding people, Adventures with Purpose, those guys, my God, talk about real life heroes, but different things like that it's, he told off on himself because him and his stupid ego. That's what got him caught. And then, seeing, I saw a message in Facebook, one of the posts, but that's how he found me too. He name dropped,
right?
Him and his ego, but it's all, what is done in the dark will come to the light.
I know.
He can't do it forever. And
I
truly hope I'm the last one. I really do.
I really, really, really do too, because I think, like I said, I know it's wrong to scam money off of people, but there has to be people that you could scam money off of that you wouldn't be feeling this bad about, because this is just like the lowest of the low. And I think if you had Googled him, or if you would put his name in even Facebook, now, a month ago versus today, you'd have totally different results. So I do hope.
100%. The only negative thing, and he of course sent me his link to the young lady who went out her screen window and they found her and she was with her boyfriend and they were so in love, and got her home. And he did, Jed Hall, he did do that. And I saw that, and I don't know whether I just didn't see the part where they had recovered his remains. Bless his mama's heart. Bless her heart. She wasn't ready for that. And he lied to her. Anyway, but those were the ones. The only one that I saw that had any little bit of a negative connotation to it was him. And can I say other Molly? Yeah, I don't know what the rules are, but Molly Golightly, he showed his true colors with her, and it took her about 30 seconds to shut him down.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, we don't have weird rules about that. Yeah.
Right. Well, and but it took her about 30 seconds to shut him down. That was the only even slightly negative thing I saw. Everything else is like great. There were a couple of the PE football that he played. I always thought that was like football practice. Sorry, but that's indoor football. It's PE. And that's all I saw about him, nothing negative. Had I even gotten a glimmer of this, yeah,
you would have
right,
completely, yeah.
right.
And so just to, if people search on Facebook, there's a page called Find Alex Easterling. What's the best way?
That is what we're using now, and I've had to learn the hard way that you can't make your own Facebook public.
Right.
It's amazing the friend requests you get. And I try to, because you never know, somebody may know something or give you that one little thing. But Find Alex Easterling is his Facebook page that, kind of scrolling through, you get a little bit of the history of, where he was, when we last saw him and talked to him. And in all honesty, if Jim wanted a juicy case, I handed him one. You want to talk about, fun, and it's the technology. I know that you guys do this every day and finding people, and I've always been kind of very opposed to Big Brother and the information gathering that they do. I've never been more grateful for Google Analytics and the tracking services that they do.
Mhm.
I mean, latitude and longitude. I mean, it is amazing, the depth of search information that you can find, but it's just been one of those things that he doesn't. But find alexeasterling.com, and it gives you the update. We are in Mississippi, in Pickens, Mississippi, and it it kind of spells everything out there, and I don't want to take over everything talking about him. I would love to if you got a couple hours.
No.
But I would love for anybody who's got time to go and take a look. Any kind of help, any technical providers, or like Adventures with Purpose. I don't think that we might need them, we might not need them, but any kind of resources that people know of that we can reach out to, because it is with missing persons. Until I was involved, and I didn't even know it wasn't a crime. It's not even a crime to be missing.
Right. They don't have to, right? If it's an adult missing, it doesn't have to.
It's not even a crime.
Well, no, I think I'm sure, Queen, you would love to do a whole stream about Alex's case.
It has twists and turns, and and I, of course, on a separate thing, I can send you some basic info on it and things. But the people that Jim has done this to, give them a leg up. The ones of us that haven't found our children yet, that we know that he wasn't really looking. That's what the other no thanks. What that fella needs to be doing, recoup some of your couth. Recoup it and help the people that Jim hurt.
The people who are getting clicks and views and getting more subs out of I think Queen will come back soon. She probably just stepped away, but she would definitely do a whole she would do a whole live devoted to Alex. And then I know you're in touch with her, because I also think that your local media contacts that he kind of burned, I think we can reach out again and also kind of pitch them this story.
Yeah.
And because I think this story of what happened to you, this idea of local family conned by online scam PI artist, right?
Oh,
that I think that's an interesting angle too, to hopefully maybe really distance yourself from him and maybe get that local coverage back, because we know how important hyper local.
It is, and we're a big small town is the best way to describe it. And from where Alex lived, I'm about 20 miles south of there in Madison County, Mississippi, and he was in Holmes County, Mississippi. Both of my mom and dad still live there. I don't even know what the the population is. It's not much, but my family has lived there for 6 generations. Everybody knows everybody. The town is too small for somebody to not know something about where he is and what happened. Yes, I think, did everybody leave me?
No, not at all. Yeah. I'm also just trying to I'm just trying to pull up the basic information on the date Alex went missing and stuff like that, so I can read it out.
Well, and I'll let you read it. If you've got it pulled up, I don't, and I'm so.
Well, you have it off the top of your head too, if you want to. I'm sure.
I don't even know how to pull things out, but he was last seen on April 20th, Wednesday, April 20th of this year, and I actually was the last person with him and his family. We were together that afternoon and things, and I was taking him home to a little bitty town, Pickens, Mississippi. It's not the place that that I needed to be after dark. And so he's like, "Oh, Mama, just drop me off at a friend's house, on my way home, and that way you don't have to drive all the way to my house." And I was like, "All right." Well, the second that we pulled in, I just kind of had that vibe. Well, I dropped him off. It was like 8:15. I dropped a map pin while we were there because I had never been there before, and and full disclosure, along with a lot of people I imagine that are missing, my son did have a substance abuse problem.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't mean that he deserved to disappear.
No.
But and feel like I have to say that out loud, just preempting, the naysayers or whatnot. But dropped him off, got out, hugged him, dropped my map pin, whose house is this? He told me their name. I was like, I love you. And he was like, I love you too. Text me when you get home and let me know you made it. And I was like, all right, well, 8:50, I get home and I'm like, hey, I made it. I love you. Be smart. Never heard anything back. I knew, I think right then, I was thinking, all right, well, maybe he's just, catching up with friends, but by the time I went to bed and he had not texted me back, I was like, okay, well, that's weird. Well, the next day, I'm busy, I'm at work and all that kind of stuff. And still didn't talk to him, called him several times through the day. It kept going to voicemail, texted him multiple times, even texted him, hey, if I don't get a response back from you in the next little bit, I'm calling the sheriff's department to come check on you. And I know you don't want that. Still didn't hear anything when my husband got home from work. And I was like, what is a reasonable time frame to, get a welfare check done? He's like, you still haven't heard from Alex? I was like, nope. He said, now, right now. And so that kind of started the ball rolling. Well, lo and behold, the house that I dropped him off at was a drug dealer's house. I had no idea. I don't, he didn't have a sign posted, And but the part that I found so hard to not even just comprehend is everybody else knew. Sheriff's department knew. Prosecutor in the town knew. All the police knew. Everybody knew that was a drug dealer's house. Then why in the hell is it still there? Why is it,
right?
So that's a whole nother, thing. But anyway, but was able to pull cell phone data that he was there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've never done it, with the Google timeline and things, I was able to go into his Google data and watch his movements around that property. And he never left. He never left that property. We were able to go and have dogs searched. They even confirmed, nope, he was here. And they followed the trail right where, everywhere that he stepped on the property, and assured us that he had not left on foot, and just haven't seen or heard from him since.
Wow. So when was his phone turned off? When was the last time his phone pinged, basically?
2:35 in the morning. And the last two pings hit at the exact same location. And it was about 200 yards ish. Well, as a crow flies, a mile, I guess, if you're going straight across, but across the interstate, dead center in the middle of the woods. Well, it wasn't a true ping. I don't know, with the accuracy, and it's heavily wooded, very rural, all of that. But I went and bought because I had just bought him that phone that day. And again, I know a lot of, NA moms and moms with children with addiction know that cell phone is our lifeline.
Right.
It's our lifeline. My husband would get so upset with me. I can't believe he's a grown man and you're paying that cell phone bill. I'm like, okay, $50 a month to know that any time of day I can pick up the phone and go, hey, are you good? Yeah, Ma, I'm fine. I love you. All right, I love you too. Call me, just check in. I mean, that was my safety net. And I just bought it that day for him. So I went and bought the exact same phone and took the exact same trip and mapped it and did all that. And the phone ping, I was able to relay or redo that phone ping almost exactly to where where I actually was versus where it pinged.
Okay.
And I was right up the street from fella's house, and it pinged the exact distance. I mean, it just, I guess I'm such a visual person that I'd have to show it to you, but I know where he was. and he never left that property.
So the police got like they went and did they searched with dogs and everything the property.
Oh no, that was us. That was me. That was my family. We got all that done. They went and spoke Wednesday night. I dropped him off. That Thursday evening, I called my parents and was like, "Look, somebody needs to call the sheriff's department because I still haven't heard from Alex." And with my dad, and again, my dad's a PI from Mississippi. He's worked for the state of Mississippi. He's not currently doing it anymore, but for several years doing process serving. And I know how the PI, and you do. You get a Mississippi business license, and you're a PI. I used air quotes on that. I wish I'd had my camera on so y'all could have, and then you're a PI. But my dad worked with and through law enforcement. Right. He has all the certifications for concealed carry. He's been through the training courses of how to interrogate, how to properly execute a search warrant, how to, he knows that and does it with integrity and does it the way that it's supposed to be done. So I was familiar with the whole scenario of things. But that Friday, the sheriff went to that house and spoke with the last person, the owner of the home and the known drug offender. I am allowed to say that he has a known drug conviction and is currently on parole for it. So the sheriff went by and he was like, "Oh yeah, Alex was here," and we were talking for a little bit and he wanted some phone numbers, and so I went inside to get my phone and I came back and he was just gone. Oh, okay. And then my dad went by later and was like, "Hey, Chucky, where's Alex? We know he was here." "Oh yeah, Mr. Robert, he was here, but he came up, we were talking and I told him, 'Hold on, let me go put a shirt on,' and I went inside to get a shirt on and I came back and he was gone."
But his phone was still pinging on that property until 2:30 in the morning.
Until Thursday morning, like all the way through Wednesday night until Thursday morning at 2:35 a.m. Then the same day, one of the sheriff's deputies went by and was like, "Hey, Chuck, I'm just following up with you and things." And so Alex was back here. He was like, "Oh yeah, I told them Alex came by here and we stood on the porch and talked for a little while, but I went inside to get a cigarette and I came back out and he was gone." 3 different stories, just 3 different people on the same day. This individual has never even been formally questioned by the police. Never even been questioned.
That's unbelievable. I mean, and you hear, and you're right. Like you hear people talk about this, some missing adults, and they don't treat it. It's not a criminal case. They don't treat it as a criminal case. But wow,
never been questioned.
You guys have done so much.
In the phone records, and that's the part that's baffled me too. I showed them, I was like, "Okay, well, here are the phone records." They were texting prior to arriving. I was like, he made a phone call and with the Google Analytics and thing and the fall detection. And I knew at this point, I had an idea of what happened. And when, I had a really good idea. I'm just kind of leave it with that. If I'm gonna keep talking and not sob. When I went in to meet with the sheriff's department and the, again, air quotes, detectives, I'm like, "Well, I passed one of the people that a phone call had been made from Alex's phone at 8:36 that night. Like obviously right when something was happening."
Right.
Okay, well, I was like, that guy was just leaving. What did he say about the phone call? And they were like, "Oh, well, he said he never talked to him." I was like, "Well, yes, he did, because here are the phone records. It was a 29-second phone call. You can say a heck of a lot in 29 seconds."
Right.
They had not even pulled the phone records until for like 10 p.m. that night. They didn't even, that wasn't even the time I dropped. They were like, "Oh, we didn't figure we needed the phone records at the time when he was with you." And I just sat there. I know I had this crazy, I was like, is this a joke? No, you need all of it, all of it for the entire day. I was like, from 5 p.m. We can even narrow it down from 5 p.m. on, but no, 10 o'clock is too late. Like didn't even attempt to get the information. So it frustrating is the easiest way to say it. And without just, but it's, at first I struggled with it thinking, oh my gosh, all these people are in on it. It's this conspiracy, or things, but I honestly think it's just ineptitude. The poorest county and the poorest state in our entire nation,
Yeah.
they aren't trained. They don't have the funds. They really, really aren't that concerned. The drug overdoses and the drug epidemic, in our entire nation, but especially that plagues smaller rural
Areas.
areas that are so impoverished. Meth and heroin, it's it. And they are people. There were 10 overdoses in 1 week in the town of Lexington. Not everybody passed away, but there were 10 overdoses that required medical attention. Lexington has less than 3,000 people, I believe, as a population. And you have 10 overdoses in 1 week from bad dope coming from one guy. Why is it still allowed?
I am like, so that is shocking. And I think you're right, because we see, I see a lot of that on the internet, people explaining things that don't make sense, and they explain it into a conspiracy, right? That people are covering up for other people. But you are right. And this comes down to even why in Mississippi, when we heard one person talking about, he tried to introduce a bill in Mississippi to create licensing for PIs, right? And they said it's never going to pass because that would require the state to fund a whole other department. And it does come down to money, right? And you said the poorest county and the poorest state. It's like, sometimes it's like a different world. The state that I live in, you can't be a PI unless you were literally law enforcement officer for years. There's no other choice. And why would we think that these local police departments would be equipped or funded or trained enough to not make these kind of mistakes? Because I'm hearing you, and it doesn't make sense. It's like, go, search this, do that.
Right. The Holmes County Sheriff's Department does not even have a certified investigator on staff.
Oh my God.
We've had 4 different lead investigators at this moment in time. We're on the 19th. The 18th, it'll be 90 days, and I've dubbed it D-Day. They get 90 days to do what they've been doing, and then the dam's gonna break loose. Right. That's as much as I can take. You've had 90 days, you've done nothing. But in that time frame, we've been told 4 different names for lead investigators. I could call Holmes County Sheriff's Department tomorrow and say, hey, do y'all have any updates? Well, now who are you looking for? It's like they don't even know.
That's just really.
And I know I'm not the only person who's had a missing loved one that's gone through this. I know that. There's probably just thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of us that are like, wait, you don't do anything? What do we need to do to make this a priority? But it just isn't. And especially when you've got someone that they're like, oh, that's just that junkie kid. I actually heard the sheriff call him a hobo, one of those hobo white boys. With my own ears. It's nice.
And that's an elected official,
the sheriff that's supposed to be, that I'm entrusting to help me find my son, called him a hobo white boy.
I'm so sorry, Ashley. I think that you're right.
And this is the sheriff that's been, I'm sorry, and my earpiece fell out, sorry. Right. You go ahead. I think I was totally interrupted.
No, go ahead. I'm just.
Well, and my earbud had fallen out, so I'm just chattering along. And I know that when this sheriff of the county, I know in my heart, he doesn't want bad things to happen in his county, that he's represented since 1986 as the sheriff. I know that he doesn't want bad things for his citizens, and he doesn't want the crime and the drugs and the things that are going on, but you cannot want it. You have to have action. You have to do something about it. And if you know that this magnitude of crime, this is, let me see, 5th murder? 5th. Well, and I shouldn't say it. I'm keeping, but it's the 5th, 4th. Alex is the 5th person that's gone missing. But 4 others that went missing were confirmed deceased and later found, not by the sheriff's department, but by the families themselves within a 2-mile radius of where my son went missing in the past 2 years.
That is shocking. That is unbelievably shocking.
And you can't tell me they're not all related. And that's not a conspiracy theory.
No.
Because they're all from the same circle.
I'm so, like, it is really hard to wrap my mind around, Ashley. Like, and I think that I'm so sorry that that's what was said about your son. And there was somebody, Captain, I might have a little bit of an echo if you have your, oh, there we go. Captain Neptune said in the chat earlier, please, to let you know that there's zero judgment about people who struggle with addiction or substance use disorder. There's many people in the channel who want to cover themselves.
And I appreciate that tremendously. And, you know, and that's something that I said, nobody wakes up one day and goes, you know what? I want to be addicted to something that runs my life, that separates me from my family. It separates me from my kids. It separates me from my job, from my life, from everything that I enjoy. So I just don't get to feel anything. Nobody chooses that. Nobody would choose that. It may be a choice initially, but you become a slave to it. And, you know, one of the biggest things that I've struggled with throughout all of this is that I'm the one that dropped him off there. I'm the one that took him there. I left him in the lion's den. But he was going anyway.
Yes.
He was going anyway. And thank God it was me, because if it hadn't been, he wouldn't have had that phone. We wouldn't have had any idea to where you even just started.
You have no idea where the last place that he went was.
So, you know, I know that was some sort of, even though that is a weight I will carry with me forever, there was divine providence in that at least I knew a direction to go. And at least I have some semblance of hope of you know, having closure on this.
And it sounds like everything that your family did, is what a private investigator would do. But you guys,
right? We didn't need. In all honesty, we didn't need Jim. I had 1,000. I do have access to the search engines and can do a background check on anybody. You know, I pay a big money for it, but I can do it. I own my own business for lots of years and had to run federal and state background checks on people because it's healthcare. You know, I am able to do that. You know, and even with some of just the not Friend Finder, Tree Finder, you know, all the different ones that are out there, anybody can do that. You know, but when I'm having to give the phone numbers to Jim for people to call, you know, and do your own research. You know, I was listening back to some of the calls, which every time I was on the phone with him, they were recorded. But, you know, him asking me, well, now, hey, do you think you could go by the so-and-so and so-and-so and pick up the records for this? And my sister's like, isn't that what you're for? You know, and he's like, yeah, but I'm traveling to Michigan or I'm traveling to Ohio or, you know, whatever it may, you know. And finally my sister's like, so are we ever going to see you, or is this like a remote thing for you? You know, my sister's been bothered by it. My dad wants to know absolutely from the minute that we spoke to him the first time. My dad's like, Debbie, you do whatever you feel like you need to do. I'm not going to, my husband too. You do what you feel like you need to do. This fella ain't going to get you anywhere.
Your dad knew.
But, you know, and my dad said that and my husband said that, but they were like, we weren't going to tell you no. You know, we weren't going to say, because then we would be the monsters. You know, we knew that you felt like you needed to do this at 41 days missing. You felt like you needed something. And I was like, I did. And it helped me for about a week. I felt really, really great. And then, you know, the clouds started coming back in going, holy shit, this is a $3,000 lesson. Could have been a $4,500, but yeah. But let him hold his hand out for that and see what he pulls back.
I think that there's a lot of people who felt like, a lot of people I've talked to, they did have doubts and their family members had doubts, but it's a pressure situation. And in the end, what's $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 for maybe this will work?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Somebody in the chat asked where did Alex go missing from? Alex went missing from Pickens, Mississippi, which is in Holmes County. And there's a page on Facebook called Find Alex Easterling, which I think it's been in the chat, but if not, can drop it in the chat again.
And I think he actually has one YouTube video. We're not YouTube. But my friend and professional, I will say it loud and proud, professional investigative journalist, Therese, who helped us out and really got some headlines for us. She is the one who helped us get his name out there. She has been an investigative journalist for years with newspaper, with one of our current big channels, and now has her own, service, and it's called Dark Horse Press. But she posted a video of YouTube too. I think if you just say Find Alex Easterling, you can see it too. But she put together a really good, you kind of get the whole story without having to hear me and the bits and pieces and ramblings. But honestly, I don't even know how my brain still works at this point in time. I think I've been on autopilot for a little while now.
I can imagine. I can't imagine. Actually, I can't imagine at all what you're going through. I think it's unimaginable. And I think that it's clear that you've done so much on your own, and this has really been on your shoulders and the shoulders of your family members.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, and my sister, I love her so much. My big sister. Everybody, if you didn't have the luxury and the pleasure of having a big sister, they're always your first superheroes too.
Right.
But it's like she said, this is our Alamo. This is our Alamo. We will not stop. We will not quit. Every rock's going to get turned over. Every bush is going to get shaken, and if you happen to be one of the, the dirty little things under the rock, guess what? We're going to shine the sun on you too. You should have said something before we had to show it. And it just, it is, but it's one of those things. And I know I speak for probably every parent and family member out there who has somebody that's missing. We don't give up. We don't. There may be days that we just don't have it in us to make all the phone calls, to do all the searches, to send all the emails and print some more flyers and handing them out and doing our pitch. This is my son. He's been missing, but my 2-minute sales pitch that I've got for it. There are just some days that we can't, but but you can if you one day where I'm not feeling as strong, it just takes the other folks to hold us up. And the next day I may be helping hold you up, but that's the only way that you can get through anything like this is you've got to have that support from the people around you, even if it is, in a virtual room on YouTube. It matters and it makes a difference.
It is. I think you're right. People want connection. People want help. And people want to help. And then in all that happening, you can have some bad actors slide in, like what happened with Jim Terry. We also think, I heard someone in the chat say, and I believe they're probably right, that we kind of think that Jim might target cases where the missing person has substance use issues or is a runaway, because when it doesn't work out, he can just kind of lay it on them, or maybe they'll just show up back home with their runaway, and he could say he solved it.
Yeah. Well, and and there were little things that I could tell, asking inappropriate questions. Why does it matter how old I was when I had my son? Yeah, I was young and all that, but so why does that matter?
That really has nothing to do with anything. Why is he asking that?
Why do you need to know where I went to college? Why do you, what? I don't need to make small talk with you. But he's welcome to dig.
Well, and that's how I felt about him talking about Candace the way he was, Dylan's mom. Oh man, it really, really upset me, because I'm like, why does it matter? Why does her having a surgery on her, her breast, why does that matter to you? What does that have to do with
Who cares?
Who cares?
And that part, and I think the part that really pisses me off the most is all this time that he has spent on this show and that show and not even being paid to work on that case and just throwing us to the side. We paid you, fool. Stop sitting here working on something that they've given you a court order not to work on, and go back to doing what you were supposed to be doing, what you were paid to do.
Because he got to be on YouTube. this other case.
Absolutely.
And who had paid him that he never said boo about your son's name until after he got fired. That it wasn't as important. And I mean, honestly, thank God, because I feel like the more he dug into your case, the more destruction he would have done.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's no telling. I mean, who knows? I could have been a fancy pole dancer before it was all done with, but being that I have no coordination, that would never work out. You know, so it's just disgusting.
And I don't know how moms like you and honestly, Candace Cooley do it. I don't know how you get up and you do that work. You go and you talk and you say the same thing over and over again because that's all you can do. I feel like I would probably crawl into a hole. So
Well, I'm glad that Candace called out the YouTubers. She did. She said, and you know, I've never seen anything so disgusting in my life.
Never, ever. I cringe every time I think, and that crap that he did with the mask, I literally wanted to throw up. I'm like, okay, wait. So not only did you do a disservice to this family, and now you pissed them off to the point that you said all these ugly things that they had to go and get somebody to sign a cease and desist order and send it to you, you know, get an attorney involved. You're still going to run your mouth, and then you come up here with that ridiculous, childish, 12-year-old boy crap, and that C word. That's just gross. That's just gross. That's what insecure people do. And, you know, if you've got some insecurities, go get some help. Go get some counseling. Go do something. Maybe that can be your new thing. You know, scam the people in your support groups or whatnot. But get out of our world. Get out. You're not welcome anymore.
I agree. And I think I can only hope that I do think that's eventually what he'll transition over to, is just trying to make money off of YouTube, which I think he'll find harder than he thinks. But I can't imagine. Last night he was on there with hair extensions on his head and lipstick on. So,
well, what he probably needs to focus on is how to retain the money that he does have.
Right.
Because I've got a feeling, you know, we're not wealthy by any means, anything like that. I mean, there are things that $3,000, it was the first time I had ever done a GoFundMe, never thought I would be on the receiving end of it, things like that. Fortunately, you know, my family had raised money, you know, privately, as well as the GoFundMe. So, you know, we were able to do it. And I know I'll never see a dime of it back, but there are so many things that I could have used that for. There's so many. I could have, you know, we've bought lunch for the police department and several of the NBI and you know, the different law enforcement agencies that are actually doing things to help us. The dog handlers. We had a huge search on May the 7th that we had over 9 canine teams with handlers from 6 different states come in voluntarily to help us search. I can't even remember how many acres it was. It was the biggest foot search that's ever been in Holmes County. And when I tell y'all, if you pull it up on the map, it's nothing but green. It's green, rural pastures, big, thick fields. It's the best white-tailed deer hunting there is. I mean, it's just thick Mississippi woods. And there were, I think we ended up with like 160 people, somewhere in there between the volunteers and the foot searchers, that, I mean, we were everywhere. They covered so much ground. Of course, they made me stay on the sidelines because by that point, you know, I didn't need to be physically in the woods searching because I didn't need that. I just didn't need to do that, just in case. But, you know, it was just amazing to me the people that turned out to help. I would love to be able to turn around and donate that money to them. You know, kind of like the Adventures with Purpose. I'm in a place right now where, you know, $3,000 is not going to make or break me. Thank the Lord. But there's somebody somewhere that you can pay that forward with. He doesn't deserve it.
No. And I mean, that's the other thing, like that he got this money. And we think that, even Candy, like he charged Candy $2,500 and she even thinks that he kind of tries to suss out how much money or funds each family kind of has before he sets his price.
Right. Well, here's the other thing. And hopefully I'm sure he's somewhere just listening. Haha, we're talking about you, fella.
He is.
The other people that need to be contacted who love things like this is the Mississippi Department of Revenue, because I know what the tax is on $4,500. I know what the tax is that they expect on $3,000. So it can just as easily be found out how much money he's actually made. And I assure you, if he hasn't paid revenue taxes on that since he is a licensed PI with a Mississippi business license, he better hope like hell he's been paying them, because they'll find him. They'll find him.
Yeah, he's gonna run into.
Did you see that in the chat? Melissa said Jim is chatting with me right now.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Ask him to go ahead and pay back Ashley, please.
Right. Yeah. He wants to make it about, this is not about Jim or having Jim come give his side of the story. We have the whole story right here.
Right. If he needs his side of the story told, I have probably like 3 hours worth of phone conversations that y'all can listen to. If anybody truly doesn't realize that it's not a show or whatever, that he is truly an ugly person, a terribly ugly person. And no, I don't mean physically, because I don't belittle people based on physical appearance, because that's just, again, gross. He's ugly on the inside. And that, I don't care. You can be handsome, you can be 6'2", you can kick a football from here to kingdom come. I don't give a damn. But if you're ugly on the inside, none of that counts. None of it.
Yes, I think that's really well said. Jim Terry, all we're saying is if you want to go up on bigger channels, that's fine. If you want to eke out an existence on YouTube and PayPal payments, that's fine. Refund the money that you've taken from families, and don't charge families for fake PI services anymore. That is the only thing.
Hey, maybe your minions that think you're so cute and handsome can refill your coffers. Take it from them,
right?
Because they're voluntarily giving it to you.
Right. We don't care about anything else. We don't care about deplatforming you or anything like that. We don't care. Just stop pretending to be an investigator and stop scamming the money out of the pockets of people.
Right. Missing persons. Go start finding dogs and things again.
Right.
If you started out finding objects, then go back to it, because
go back to finding the baseball jerseys and the donkeys.
Right. Because people are not objects. People are people. And he needs to pick a different scam.
I agree. He needs a different scam, and honestly, the toxic world of YouTube true crime is probably right up his alley, and go for it. But no one's trying to get into a YouTube battle with Jim Terry. I personally would never want to speak to or be on a panel with or in the same room as Jim Terry. I just hope that he's not able to charge for fake private investigator services anymore. I have no control over other grifts he wants to run.
I just wanted to tell you thank you so much. And he said Jim Terry is a failed football player and sells women's shoes. He's also scored 4 touchdowns in one game. Jim also looks like over the hill Mr. Clean and is the worst PI in the country. I agree.
I think that might be an insult to Al Bundy, but to even compare the two. And I would disagree that he's the worst PI in the country, because I would say he's not a PI.
Right. We can even classify him as a PI.
But Queen, I was saying to Ashley, you would definitely want to do like a live just on Alex's case, right?
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Really,
yeah.
I do.
I think it would be great too, that we have this one and we have another one. And I do think that in any way, possibly Ashley, possibly what he's done now is made enough for there to be another story, like a news story that has some interest with your case. This idea that you were scammed by this guy who's on YouTube and running scams all over the country, and his name's kind of in the public now because the news up there in Idaho has been reporting about him being fired from the Dylan Rounds case and things. So hopefully you can start centering the story back on finding Alex.
Oh no, she said, I think my call dropped. I'm still in the chat. She said,
Oh, that's
absolutely.
okay. That's okay. That was actually a good time too, I think, because I think I would really like to, it sounds like, I don't know if you were hearing everything she was saying about her case, Queen.
I was
But yeah,
in and out. I was listening, but I was trying to, you know what I mean? I was in and out there for a minute.
it's there's a lot to say, and it's like it was
Yes,
very
that's well, and that's why I said I think we should just do like one, a live on her son, so that way we can, get the word out as well too.
Yes, I think so. Because I also she said so much interesting, important things about what's going on down there, and I would like you don't want to just be buried at the end of this live, just get it where it's like fully focused
Yeah,
on.
for sure. Yeah, yeah. Well, and I was going to ask her before she dropped off. I was going to because it still shows that she's up here. You know what? Let me boot her off of here so it's like off here. But she said, "Thank y'all so much. You're very welcome. Thank you for coming up. Thank you for talking and chatting and being open with us. I really appreciate it. This was a really good live. I really had a good time with you guys. I mean, I listened a lot more than I spoke, but I felt like I needed to sit back and listen. It wasn't time for me to talk.
I felt like overwhelmed because I felt like there was so much going on because it was like
Yeah.
starting with Teresa telling us all this new stuff, and then Adventures of Purpose, and then and then have Ashley up here, which I'm just so in awe of her. Yeah, it was a lot in one sitting there. And
Yeah,
just
you know what? It was really badass that they came up here and you know what I'm saying, made time. They got like what 2.3 million subscribers or something. They're like really super huge. So it's really cool of him to come over here because that's another thing. Jim Terry's like, you're 184 people. Who cares? I don't care if I have 8 people. As long as we're spreading the word about what you're doing and the foul stuff that you're doing to these families. I don't care if there's 2 people.
Right. I mean, like, he really doesn't get it. Like, I'm not even a YouTube person. I don't have a channel. I wouldn't even be on anybody's panel except for Queen's, was just a hangout spot, and you just unfortunately piqued our interest with some of the stuff that we saw you doing. We're just talking about it. We don't care about like how many viewers we have. It's silly.
Oh, Candace, she said, yes, he finds them in missing people in missing persons groups. Who was asking you? Did somebody ask you in here? Oh, and you know what? You guys beat him. He is so cool. Listen, he gifted like 10 memberships. I didn't even know you could do that.
I saw that happening. I'm like, what is happening? All these people are lighting up green. That's such a cool thing to do.
Yes, that was super cool. I don't know what to even do with this though, because like I'm not a big YouTuber.
But
I
people
don't know how to
people like
stuff,
now
but
the people
we'll figure it out. That's super
yeah.
cool, man. It's really neat. Like that's super cool. And yeah, he's like a missing persons chaser. Like that is exactly what he does. And how do you prey on people like that? You're disgusting. That's sick.
And I can imagine his pitch in my head because I've heard him say it like 3 times on YouTube, and he probably says it on the phone to every single one of these people. And it's just a speech he's memorized.
Oh, and Candy was talking about she said, do you guys want to show the messages of when he got a hold of me? Like, do you want to show how he contacted me? He sent her pictures of himself. That's how he reached a girl. Look at these. I'm gonna post them real quick. Hold on.
I agree, Heather, that ambulance chasers are better than he is because at least ambulance chasers are real lawyers who pass the bar, who can then give you legal services. And I think it is true. Like, I haven't been able to see, but I've been hearing that it is true that he did dox Sleuth Mom or dox somebody's address. So I'll definitely go and, watch that over there. I mean, it took him long enough with all of his all of his threats and his buildup. But, you know, I think Queen has said she supports her. I think everybody with some human decency supports her, that she was just targeted by this maniac. And hopefully it has not caused her any real life distress or harm. And, you know, I don't know whose channel he did it on, but I know that the channel where he threatened to do it on was deleted that night. So we'll see what happens with that.
Oh, I hope she definitely reports it for sure. And yeah, absolutely. I support her 110%. I do think she's definitely being targeted right now because he's mad as hell about that call that got put out.
Yeah, and she was a woman with not, you know, with less than 10,000 followers, so he felt confident enough to, you know, go after her.
Right. She's not some huge channel. She's not somebody that goes out here and doxes people and does horrible things. She doesn't go out here and prey on people who have missing kids and missing children in their family. You know what I'm saying? And missing family members. You know what I'm saying? She doesn't, none of that stuff. So for him to come on here and do that and say the things he said is very unnecessary. It's disgusting.
So apparently last night, Annie on 10 to Life said that Jim has a lot of really interesting theories and like good information. He came up with a lot of good stuff in the Dylan Rounds case. So maybe Annie should watch this. And then I'm thinking, Annie, I think she'd be a great person to kind of take this over and dedicate herself to the Jim Terry case instead of any of these other cases she's doing. I think that'd be great for you to do with that large platform that you've built over there, 10 to Life. Look at this. So he just sends his hello, Jim Terry PI, and then this poor girl who he's using as free advertising all the time.
Yeah, so this is the first message that he sent to Candace.
And just once again, for the people, this particular case, this girl was a runaway who's, you know, recovered. There's that interview, that article is him talking to the local news. There is nothing in that article. There is nothing on the internet showing that the family or law enforcement verifies anything he says or gave him any credit for this girl getting back home. Why is he sending this picture of himself in college at 21 years old?
Well, exactly. He goes, so Candy goes, hey there. And he goes, okay, got it. Like, okay, got it. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, okay, got it. And then he says, here is me in college, 21 years old, and sends a picture of himself. Are you kidding me? You little slime ball. What are you doing?
I'm so disturbed by this. What is this picture?
Right. And why are you sending it to people who you're trying to get? What?
Is that even him? Oh my gosh.
That is Tim so weird. He sent the photo because it was the only time he had hair.
You can't even see who's in that photo.
Right. Who cares about college photos? Like, seriously, who cares? This ain't even something. He also said another kid looks like him. I'd like to know his childhood history.
Yeah, he said that before. He says that like he's on the missing persons case because people just started messaging him saying, hey, Jim, there's this missing person who looks just like you. He said that about the Jonathan Estes case. And he said that about another case too. And that's really a weird thing to say because no one would ever say that. And it's very strange. I need you to send me this so I can like zoom in on that to try to figure out what was the context of him sending this picture.
That's what it is. He was reaching out to Candace. Like, that's what it is. Seriously.
Right. Because he has 100, his cases are, I clipped him talking about Jake the Snake Roberts the other day. It is like the guy sounds psychotic. The amount of things that he says, because basically he's in this one YouTube video where he says he's the PI investigator to professional wrestling stars. And he says they sometimes call me the KFAB or the kayfabe, which is a wrestling term, sleuth, or like the kayfabe private investigator. It was insane. And then he's talking about like Jake the Snake Roberts, and it's like he lives in a fantasy world. So I'm trying to put together all the clips together because it's laughable. I mean, he is really laughable, and I can laugh really hard when I watch him. But at the same time, then I remember, what he's actually doing to people. And I don't know, sometimes like you have to laugh to just get over how awful he is.
Louisiana girl, you can click the link and come up. She said, I got so much to say. Girl, come up and spill it. Come up and spill it.
Where is Captain? I want to hear her reaction to this photo.
I've seen her in here, but I know she's been busy.
This is me, 21 years old. Oh, I've heard that he's found a missing Super Bowl ring. He's found a missing baseball jersey. He's found missing donkeys that were worth $30,000 each, which I actually took the time to look it up. And even very like high pedigree show donkeys do not cost quite that much. He's found chihuahuas. He's found cars. What else is it? All sorts of objects. I don't know how he could find an object if he doesn't leave his house. Oh, good. Captain's coming up. I need to hear her feelings on this. And if anybody else can remember any of the other things that he has found, there's no way he found him at a shady pawn shop, Heather, because I doubt he's ever walked into a pawn shop to look for anything.
Candace said, my son's father supposedly told him my husband and I are druggies. His dad doesn't want anything to do with Jim.
Yes, right? Like he just says whatever. This is why he assumes that if families are split, that it's just like how he said to Heather, do you know them? And as soon as he found out that Heather doesn't know them, he started telling lies to Heather that she wouldn't know. Oh, they're drug addicts. Like she has this criminal history. And he kind of does the same thing when there's divorced parents, try to play the two sides of the family against each other. But he doesn't know that, Tabor's dad's wife, so Tabor's stepmom, that she was in touch with like Candy during this whole thing, right? So he just tries to throw lies at people he think might dislike each other or not know each other. Yes, Captain, he found a pair of donkeys. $30,000 donkeys. And a Super Bowl ring. I want to know whose Super Bowl ring he found. At 32. Yeah, probably, right? That's probably what he thought. Like just like he thought with Candace and Justin Rounds, that he could just say whatever about Candace to her ex-husband's family or her ex-in-laws, and that they would just accept anything that he said. Tiny Tumbleweed says maybe he steals the items. I don't know where he would have kept those donkeys. Queen, can you send me that that image of him, his 21-year-old college picture? Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, I'll send it. Yeah, I was gonna say I'll send it now. I was actually getting ready to shut this down. Do you guys want to start another one up? I just know 2 hours is quite a long time, so people will want to come on and listen to this, and I want to make sure it's low, short enough that people will have time to listen to it. You know what I mean?
No, that's what I'm thinking. It ended up being so much stuff.
Yeah, there's like a lot to unpack in this live. There's a lot of moving parts. So I'm going to go ahead and shut it down on this note. And I actually have a new outro like to play for you guys too. So I want you guys to stay and listen to it or listen to it on your way out. And if you guys are up for it, we'll start another live too, just to chit chat if you guys want to. It's up to you guys.
All right, sounds good.
We'll talk to you later though. Thank you guys for all coming, and thank you for being up here, and thank you, Good Egg.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to Ashley, Martin, and Heather.
Yes, all you. Yes, Heather, Ashley, all you girls. Yeah.
And everybody.